Every day we ask police, soldiers, firefighters, and other first responders to enter hazardous, unseen spaces in the performance of their duty. Whether a police officer in Aurora trying to stop a gunman, a firefighter in Missouri searching for victims in a burning building, or a soldier in Afghanistan trying to determine whether that compound is full of civilians or insurgents, the inability to see around that corner or inside that space costs lives. Existing options like robots, drones, fiber optic cameras are just too costly, classified, and complex to ever make it to your local cop or frontline infantryman. What we need, therefore, is a low-cost, easy-to-use, and fast system that can deliver critical information and increase situational awareness. What we've developed is the Balance Imaging Explorer, a low-cost, throwable ball unit with cameras, near-infrared illuminators, and standard off-the-shelf components that you can toss into a space and get back an image with overlaid sensory data at a cost comparable to the equipment already fielded to police and other first responders. But what's really cool is that once you have the platform, you can change the casing and the sensor suite and very easily adapt it to a range of applications. So for example, if you're in Homeland Security and what you really care about is knowing whether there's a radiological threat inside that container, what you really want in your sensor suite is a Geiger counter. Or if you're in firefighting, the things it turns out that you're most concerned about are carbon monoxide and hydrogen cyanide. And so the fact that the sensors have a very similar data format means it's very easy to plug in and out for different applications. And what's great about having a bunch of applications is that means a pretty big market. In the US, we think it's pretty significant, and that's before considering adjacent markets like private security or industrial inspection. Because we're a startup, we've got to focus and we've got to start somewhere. And so we're starting with police, where the technical requirements are lowest and where there's a clear shift in what's required for the frontline police officer. So there's a big market, but would people actually be interested in this? Would people actually want to buy it? We've talked to we've conducted dozens of interviews with police, firefighters, soldiers, all sorts of first responders. And particularly in the police, as I mentioned, there's a new change in the fact that before, when you had a gunman, a shooter, a hostage situation, the standard procedure was you sat outside and you waited for the SWAT team to show up with all their fancy equipment and training. Unfortunately, as we've seen, the world has changed, and you can't do that anymore. And so frontline police are now being asked to go into these highly dangerous situations without the equipment to keep them safe. And so there's a fundamental change that police have recognized. So that was the former superintendent for Massachusetts State Police. That's at a high level. At a user level, there's also a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of interest. After we were a gold winner at Mass Challenge, we got some publicity, and that actually let us get all sorts of additional feedback from police departments and fire departments around the country. And it's been really exciting to get more and more information about how they would use the device and what applications they want to apply it to. But it's also been cool to get interest from outside the United States, from around the world, from all sorts of countries, and all sorts of applications, ranging from nuclear power plants to mining to even some amateur photographers that want to take pictures of creatures inside their dens. That media coverage has continued, and it's been really helpful because it continues to connect us on an ongoing basis with all sorts of end users and really helps us improve our product and make sure that it's really targeted to their needs. So there's a lot of great companies, some of them in Massachusetts, that build robots, that build sort of advanced technologies. And why haven't those companies gone after this space? And for the most part, what we've found is that they develop great systems, highly sophisticated for niche applications where they can find very high returns. We're starting from the premise that what users really need is a basic system at a low cost. It's easy to use and deployable. We've got a team that combines strategy experience in electronics and on-the-ground experience with a former Army Ranger. Technical folks who are not only great at their business but have spent decades developing imaging systems, and advisors that have founded companies in the space. Our IP is, we own our IP and it's pretty strong, and we're ready to go to field tests in the late spring. But all the way through, we're focused on getting a device that really serves the needs of those who risk their lives for us every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's interesting. You mentioned that this comes at a comparable cost to existing methods or technology.
Sorry, to existing equipment. So
can you
to a
explain
vest.
what the cost is
Sure.
and how you made that calculation, please?
Yep. So we're pricing somewhere between $500 and $1,000, which is comparable to what you get issued if you're issued a bulletproof vest or the sort of shotguns that you get in the back of the truck, things that you would get issued as a police officer. If you wanted the kinds of systems that they do that are imaging systems, those things cost in the $10,000s or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so they're usually restricted only to SWAT teams, specialized military units, explosive disposal. There is no comparable system at this price point.
And how many times do you use it? I mean, it's a function of the situation whether you get to recover it.
That's right.
You roll it in,
most
it bounces
situations,
in.
absolutely. In most situations, you're going to toss it in. It's going to be an empty room, and so you'll go in, you'll pack it up, and you'll recharge it in your car from a car charger. If it turns out that the place is on fire, it's not worth going. $500 isn't worth going into a fire to get it back. And so it's disposable when you need it to be, and reusable when you can.
What is the device? That device sends information to what?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So it connects with an Android tablet or smartphone.
Okay.
And it's just an app that runs the stitching
Is
algorithm.
it through Bluetooth, or are you going?
The closest analogy is Wi-Fi B.
Okay.
Yeah. Sort of a server-client relationship. Yeah.
Do these just operate as discrete units, or have you contemplated these being mesh networks somewhere you can throw multiples?
So that's the next step. And it's particularly important for search and rescue because there you need not only the image of the space you're looking at, but also tracking of where you've already looked and where devices are already deployed. One of the big problems in search and rescue is you end up searching the same building over and over again. So yeah, absolutely. Meshing them, one for positional information, but also to extend their range. So you can daisy chain them to expand the range to the device.
And your business model, is it predicated on gross module for these? I didn't hear you talk about anything about software and licensing that goes with it, the app or any other.
So yeah, so the app is a free app that comes with the device, and you pair it with each unit when you're using the unit. And so you can, we have recommended platforms, so you can buy the Android tablet if you want, or you can use one if it meets the requirements of the app.
So you have plans to continue to innovate? How are you going to maintain market share once your patents are?
Sure. So some of the places that we're going with the next versions is the ability to control it once it's in the room, so adding a motor that lets it sort of whip around and cover more space. And there's other things that you can do once it stops. So it's taking images as it flies through the air, and so it gets you those panoramic images. Once it stops, you may want things like continuous surveillance, so adding video, which is really just a firmware update once you get that point. And then, as I mentioned, once you can expand to different applications very quickly because the sensors are relatively swappable. And so you can enter new markets with relatively simple changes to the casing and to the sensor suite.
Right now you just have one patent application currently filed?
No, it's sort of a thicket, as they say, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.